"What on earth is this?" Everett Vance grumbled, sifting through yet another customer complaint that his assistant had printed out and handed to him. There were multiple complaints. It occurred 23 times over the course of 2 weeks. Everett reclined in the leather chair of his office, gazing at the framed photographs adorning the wall. There he was 23 years ago, poised in front of a solitary metal shop, a rented forklift at his side, and a vision in his heart. Currently, there are 19 fully operational distribution warehouses throughout the Midwest, a multitude of workers, countless pallets dispatched each day. Yet there was an unsettling feeling in the air. The grievances did not pertain to delivery times or costs. The focus was on the treatment of individuals, particularly at Warehouse 11 in Dayton. Several customers reported witnessing workers being shouted at on the floor. One concern highlighted an elderly worker who almost fell over while attempting to lift a load that was double his weight. When approached, management was either unavailable or dismissive. Everett had lost faith in second-hand accounts. He had erred in that way once at Warehouse 4. A manager had been subtly pilfering inventory for months, all the while spinning tales to the district manager. Everett had managed to capture it himself after arriving unexpectedly. He vanished in less than an hour. Now he was feeling that familiar urge again. "I'm heading to Dayton," Everett declared, rising swiftly to his feet. His assistant stared, in surprise. "Will you be meeting with the manager?" "No," he replied, "I'm stepping in as a sweeper. I desire to witness the reality that unfolds when authenticity reigns supreme." He removed his beard, tinted his hair a muted brown, slipped into a worn hoodie, and acquired a set of prescription safety glasses. Warehouse 11 will welcome a new, cleaning temporary employee starting Monday, sourced from a third-party agency. Everett ensured he was that person. He had yet to encounter anyone at that place face-to-face. Intelligent recruitment strategies and a structured hierarchy allowed him to remain in the background. Many believed that Mr. Vance was merely a figurehead on the payroll, flawless. On a Monday morning at 6:12 a.m., Everett entered Warehouse 11. The air was thick with the scent of dust mingling with the chill of cold metal. The overhead lights emitted a soft buzz. The distant sound of forklifts echoed through the air. He grasped his mop and trash cart, merging with the drowsy early shift workers arriving for duty, a clipboard secured against the rear of his cart. A commanding voice echoed from behind him, "You're the new cleaner." Everett pivoted. The man in his late 40s had a shaved head and a thick build, his expression marked by a permanent scowl. The name tag read, "Ron." "Yeah," Everett said, maintaining a hushed tone from Cedar Temps. "Make sure to keep your distance, avoid engaging with the team, and prioritize cleaning the break area last, understood?" Everett simply nodded in response. He maneuvered the cart toward the loading dock, observing the workers with keen interest. The majority appeared to be in their 50s, possibly even in their 60s. He observed a man with a knee brace struggling to lift a heavy stack of boxed coils that obviously required the assistance of another person. A different woman, petite and stooped, was carrying loads of shrink wrap up to the mezzanine. No assistance, no forklifts provided, and then Ron's voice sliced through the warehouse like a knife. "Hurry up, Thomas. I instructed to arrange that second row prior to 7. The request came once more from the seasoned gentleman, a slender figure, with dark skin, perhaps in his 70s, who wiped the perspiration from his brow and continued on his way. Everett observed Thomas as he crouched, grasped the edge of a pallet, and grimaced. No assistance was offered. Ron strode confidently by him. Everett gripped the mop handle tightly. He glided nearer to the loading zone, feigning indifference. Thomas pulled the pallet against the wall, his breath coming in labored gasps. Ron returned a few minutes later, clutching a clipboard. "You're not tall enough," Ron snapped. "I specified 2 rows with 5 pallets in each fully wrapped." Thomas gazed at him, his breath coming in quick bursts. "I'm putting forth my utmost effort, okay? My back isn't what it once was. Perhaps it's time for you to step back or move on. Regardless, I require someone who can handle the load, not complain about it." Everett stood still. That was downright disrespectful. That was harsh, yet he remained silent for now. He continued to tidy up, observing, attuned to every sound. A woman from packing, Janie, as indicated by her name tag, strolled past. Ron, clipboard in hand. Ron, we're down 2 staff members in aisle 6. Is it possible to transfer someone from receiving? Ron averted his gaze from her entirely. Either find a solution or prepare to work overtime. However, we've been lacking all week. Then you ought to pick up the pace. Janie strolled away, not with anger but a sense of defeat. By noon, Everett had observed enough to realize this place wasn't merely broken, it was actively being dismantled. Ron snapped at anyone over 40 as if they were worthless. He overlooked his injuries. He delivered his biting remarks, but only in the absence of anyone in a position of power. He even ridiculed a man's hearing aid when he didn't reply quickly enough, yet not everyone was evaluated. Everett observed a reserved individual named Lewis, likely in his late 20s, assisting Thomas with a pallet while Ron's attention was elsewhere. A woman named Janie silently offered an extra sandwich from her home to the woman encased in shrink wrap. This place still held a pulse of warmth. Individuals continued to show concern, yet they were enduring the presence of someone who lacked it. After completing his shift, Everett made his way to the modest break room and settled into a solitary spot at the far end. He retrieved a notebook, inscribed 2 words, and emphasized them with 3 underlines. Tomorrow, watch Ron. By 6:40, the EI following morning, Everett was already inside, diligently sweeping near the east dock doors. The air outside was thick with humidity, seeping through the cracks in the loading bay, as if it were attempting to smother the space. Within the space, the noise had intensified compared to the previous day, forklifts clattering, voices elevated, and a few pallets thudding into position with more force than required. The atmosphere was thick with unease. Everett maintained a low profile, yet his gaze remained keen. Ron's voice had yet to break through, yet the line workers were already in motion, as if preparing for its arrival. Close to the bulk packing station, Janie was meticulously reviewing labels alongside a new recruit, a young lad who seemed hardly old enough to have started shaving. She exhibited remarkable patience, guiding him through the process and highlighting details with a calm demeanor. He nodded, striving to stay in sync. As Ron turned the corner, he clutched a half-empty coffee cup and a clipboard in his hands. "You're not watching over him, Janie," he snapped. "He'll either solve it or he's gone by Friday." "He began just yesterday," she remarked, her gaze fixed on the screen. "He has 3 more days to cease holding up the progress. Please refrain from taking this on as your issue." Ron chose not to linger for an answer. He pivoted sharply and marched toward the rear racks, striking the clipboard against his palm with force. Everett maneuvered his cart toward the main floor, positioning it beside the stretch wrap station, carefully glancing behind a line of skids. He observed Ron bending over a workstation, where a younger man sporting a buzz cut and safety glasses was securing the last bundle. "You triple-banded this," Ron barked. The guy nodded. "Sure, according to the revised guidelines, you assume I'm unaware of what they entail," Ron interrupted. "Please follow my instructions for wrapping when I'm present. Otherwise, it leads to unnecessary use of banding. First, wrap it twice, then give it a pull. This isn't a discussion. You're not here to engage in arguments." Everett observed the employee's demeanor, a clenched jaw and eyes fixed just beyond Ron's shoulder, but he simply nodded and returned to his tasks. Ron glided across the floor as if on a mission to find someone to trap. He made no effort to assist. He offered no guidance, only pointed out flaws. People rushed around him, their speed apparent, yet their movements lacked finesse. Errors were accumulating. Everett noticed that 2 pallets had been misloaded due to the barcodes being swapped. No one noticed it. No one had the luxury of time. As Everett strolled by aisle 4, he caught the sound of a coughing fit emanating from somewhere behind the conveyor line. He glanced over and spotted Thomas once more, hunched down with one hand resting on a crate and the other on his knees. His face flushed, eyes glistening. There was an absence of company. Everett eased his cart to a stop and approached with a soft tread. "Are you all right?" he inquired. Thomas glanced upward, taken aback. "Indeed," he exhaled. "Please hold on for a moment. Assistance is required. I will behave well. I just need a moment to regain my composure." Everett refrained from pressing the matter. He lingered close by until Thomas gave a nod and gradually rose to his full height once more. He returned to his cart and continued his cleaning, positioning himself nearer to the conveyor this time. At 10 past 10, Ron reappeared at the break, room doorway, and snapped his hands together with a single clap. Quarter of an hour refrained from making it 16. Individuals entered quietly, a hush enveloping the room. Some individuals came prepared with their own meals. Several simply remained seated, gazing blankly at the wall. Silence reigns, not a sound above a murmur. Everett lingered by the vending machine, feigning interest in his phone. Ron strode into the room, halted before a sturdy man clad in a worn shirt emblazoned with the company logo, and rapped his fingers on the table. The man glanced up, noting your recent use of the back dock once more, exclusively for the overflow runs. If the front's full, we've been advised to stack, Ron leaned in to say. Please consult me prior to altering the flow. You rely on others to make decisions for you. No alterations were made. I adhered to the guidelines. Ron's voice lowered. Your role is clear, to accompany me on this journey, not merely a sheet of paper. The man remained silent. He absently toyed with the crust of his sandwich, his gaze fixed on the table before him. Everett rose from his seat and exited the room before the break concluded. He was reluctant to continue watching it. Returning to the floor, he lingered at the distant end of the warehouse, where the outbound line meticulously sorted high-priority shipments. There, he spotted Jamie, the very woman who had selflessly given away her sandwich the day prior, meticulously inspecting each container before granting her approval for the wrap. She moved swiftly, capturing every detail with precision. A supervisor in their mid-30s, wearing glasses and maintaining a sharp posture, approached her with a tablet in hand. Jamie, you're lagging behind. I know, she said, her gaze fixed. Elsewhere. This morning we found ourselves short once more. We all have our limitations. It's essential to pick up the pace. I'm reviewing the weights. One order was mispacked yesterday. It's not your responsibility to verify. Shift the line. I'll handle the mistakes. Jamie glanced up, and when it goes out incorrectly under my name, I receive the reprimand. You won't be receiving a write-up. However, the supervisor hesitated, then declined with a shake of his head before turning to leave. Everett etched his name from the badge, Kyle. He lingered until Jamie moved away from the line, then approached as if he were merely rearranging a bin. She glanced at him, weariness etched on her face, yet a spark of curiosity lingered in her eyes as she remarked, You always cover this shift. Indeed, mornings throughout the week. He merely shrugged. I just saw that you've already spotted 2 mistakes. You're quite skilled at this, Jamie remarked with a dry chuckle. Sufficient to face criticism for showing concern, Everett offered. A faint smile before continuing on his way by mid-afternoon. The surface beneath was beginning to show signs of wear. Individuals moved at a more leisurely pace. The pallets were accumulating in a haphazard manner. The sound remained constant. Yet the atmosphere shifted. The weight was palpable. Once more Ron erupted in a fit of rage. At the northeast dock, he rounded a row and spotted the young new hire, the same one Jamie had assisted, leaning precariously while attempting to load a crate. What on earth are you up to? Ron let out a sharp bark that caught everyone's attention. The why? Child recoiled. You attempting to descend. You're seeking a workers' comp case just 2 days in. I wasn't asking if you wanted to be here on Friday. The kid just didn't respond. He quickly retreated, his face flushed, and hurried toward the water station. Ron glanced over at Jamie, who was observing from a short distance away. Why is he even here if he can't figure out how to move a crate? Jamie stepped forward. He has truly only been here for 2 days. He didn't receive adequate training due to our shortage, so please ensure he gets improved instruction. We won't allow any delays in the process. Perhaps we require an individual with the expertise to train effectively and maintain the flow of operations. Jamie fixed her gaze on him. Your threat of replacement looms over me. Ron remained silent. He simply turned and left. Everett remained still. He had witnessed more than enough. He abandoned the cart by the entrance, strolled down the office corridor, and entered the supervisor's glass-walled cubicle without a knock. Kyle lifted his gaze from the glow of his screen. How may I assist you? Everett removed his glasses and unpinned his badge from his shirt, Everett Vance is my name. This company is mine. Kyle's eyes grew large with surprise. He rose gradually. There's no need for you to say anything, sir. Simply pay attention. Everett's voice carried a steady assurance, firm yet not harsh. I have spent 2 days on your floor. I have observed your foreman reprimanding employees. I have observed the disregard for safety, training overlooked, orders mismanaged, individuals belittled. Kyle took a deep breath. I had no idea you did. I observed you turn and leave. I noticed you listen but take no action. Kyle appeared as though he longed for a seat, yet he hesitated to take the plunge. Could you please tell me the location of your HR lead? She works from a distance, arrives on Thursdays. Reach out to her. Request that she get the immediate termination. Paperwork ready for Ron. He has completed everything for today. No severance, no conversation. Kyle nodded, his expression rigid and his complexion drained of color. Everett pressed on. Jamie has been promoted, with immediate effect. You're going to propose that she assume the role of team lead for her area. She receives a salary increase and complete control to revamp the training program. Another acknowledgement. Jamie receives a bonus. She's among the few individuals here who takes the time to verify anything. Louis as well. Compensate both of them for the past 6 months at their full performance rates. Absolutely, sir. Thomas, the older man, learned that he was being reassigned to light duty with full pay, along with a thank you bonus for his decision not to quit after enduring such treatment. Kyle remained silent. Now, Everett remarked, taking a step back, you will step out there and dismiss Ron right in front of me, in front of the entire team. Kyle paused, or I'll seek out someone who will. He moved forward without a moment's pause. The warehouse floor didn't simply quiet down when Kyle emerged from the office. It fell into a profound stillness. Individuals continued their tasks, yet their pace diminished. Fingers lingered just above the scanners, while feet fidgeted restlessly on the ground. The echo of Everett's revelation had not yet enveloped all, yet its presence was palpable. A shift had occurred. Kyle did not approach Ron directly. He surveyed the surroundings, his gaze sweeping across the floor until it settled on a figure by the inbound dock, pacing with a tablet in hand, issuing commands to a forklift driver who nodded with excessive eagerness. Everett lingered at the office entrance, arms folded, observing intently. Kyle walked towards Ron with purposeful strides. No clipboard available, no distractions, only intention. Ron, Kyle stated, his tone steady yet resolute, it's time for you to leave. Ron opened his eyes wide. Excuse me? Your presence is no longer required. In effect, right away. You must get to the floor immediately. Ron hesitated for a moment, then moved ahead once more. You don't have the authority to dismiss me. You don't even belong to the district. Kyle averted his gaze from Everett. This originates from the highest authority. For 7 years, I've been at the helm of this establishment. You believe you can just walk in here without paying attention. Kyle interrupted, his voice elevated slightly, ensuring that nearby employees could catch his words. We are not discussing your history. We are bringing it to an end. Ron's gaze darted about. A handful of workers had ceased their activity intently, observing from their concealed spots behind crates and racks. You're making a mistake, Ron exclaimed more forcefully. If you go, everything here crumbles. No, Everett said, stepping forward. It's crumbling due to your actions. Ron turned, his expression changing as he met the gaze of the man he had assumed was merely a floor sweeper. You, Everett, remained unfazed. The way you have treated these individuals comes to a close today. Ron's mouth parted, yet silence enveloped him. He glanced around one final time, noting the absence of any savior, then hurled the tablet forcefully onto the adjacent pallet jack and marched toward the exit. No one came after. Silence enveloped the room. As the door banged closed behind him, a long breath escaped, sweeping across the floor like a pressure valve that had finally let go. Work has picked up again, though it's more subdued this time. With determination, Kyle redirected his attention to Everett. What comes next? Now we rebuild, Everett said, already moving forward. He chose not to go to the office. He approached the packing zone, where Janie stood by the line, arms crossed and lips pressed tightly together. She appeared unfazed by his presence. "I need to borrow you," he said. She trailed silently behind. They paused by the east stairwell, drawn to the tranquility that enveloped the space. "I'm making a request, not giving a command," Everett said. "Will you assume the lead role on the floor?" Janie paused, uncertainty flickering in her mind. "It varies." "About what? Are you planning to stick around for more than a day, or should I just tidy up after you and pass it back to someone like Ron next week?" Everett remained expressionless. "I refuse to depart until this place operates as it was meant to from the very beginning." She gazed at him for an extended moment. "In that case, I shall proceed with it. However, I require the immediate reassignment of 3 individuals, Jamie, Lewis, and Deanne from the receiving department. I have collaborated with each of them. This place has been held together quietly by them. Completed. I would like to have the ultimate decision on training schedules and shift rotations. It will be yours, and if I face any resistance from above, you direct them to me," Janie acknowledged with a nod. "Understood. Then you've secured a floor lead for yourself," Everett acted without hesitation. "Get Jamie and Lewis. Let's gather in the team room in 15 minutes. He made his way to the break room. This time he bypassed the vending machine entirely. In the quiet corner, Thomas sat by himself at the distant table, meticulously wrapping a paper towel around his half-eaten sandwich. Everett drew the chair opposite him and settled into it. Thomas, the older man, glanced upward, his eyebrows knitted together in a wary expression. "Starting tomorrow, you will be assigned to light. Duty inventory auditing and logistics logs. No lifting, no stairs, no exceptions." Thomas blinked in disbelief. "What is the reason behind this? You deserve this, having shouldered more than your fair share for far too long." Thomas paused, uncertainty flickering in his mind. Could this be a scheme? Negative. This correction has been a long time coming. The gentleman cast his gaze upon his sandwich. "I wondered if perhaps I was simply aging out of this. You are not. You've been overseen by individuals who aren't suited for the task." Everett rose to his feet. "This afternoon, a representative from HR will meet with you to discuss the change. Complete compensation, complete hours." Thomas remained silent, yet as Everett exited, he noticed the man discreetly dabbing at his eyes with a paper towel. 15 minutes later, Jamie and Lewis entered the team room alongside Janie. They appeared hesitant yet intrigued. Everett positioned himself next to the whiteboard, a pile of printed shift data laid out before him. He stated that he wasn't present to deliver a speech. "I seek your assistance." Lewis rested against the back of a chair. "So, you're the one in charge, huh?" "Indeed." Jamie crossed her arms. "What's the reason for beginning on the floor?" "Due to my loss of faith in reports. I had to witness the transformation of my company." Janie gave a slight nod. "He witnessed it." Everett gestured towards the printed documents. "Your insights would be greatly appreciated. Where we're losing precious moments, who has been neglected, what shortcuts are being taken and for what reasons." Lewis advanced with purpose. "Packing has been increasing orders to fulfill quotas. Half the team is bypassing barcode checks to maintain their pace." Jamie mentioned that the shipping department has been lacking in weight verifications. When someone calls off, we find ourselves in a tight spot, scrambling to get everything done. Janie made her way around to the table. "The training is hardly effective. We're bringing people on board in less than 2 hours and immersing them directly into live production." Everett gave a slight nod. "At that point, we come to a halt." Beginning. Tomorrow we will halt all non-essential outbound activities. We operate solely on skeleton shipments. All others undergo appropriate retraining cycles, compensated. Jamie cast a glance in his direction. "You mean it absolutely." Lewis gave a slight shake of his head. "You're going to face some backlash for that from local, originating from the realm of finance. Let them seek me out. Allow me to clarify." Janie inclined her body, eager and attentive. "If we're going to proceed with this, I would like to have open floor meetings on a weekly basis. Immediate input, clear and open measurements." "You've nailed it." Jamie let her arms drop. Additionally, there are safety audits, not even once every 3 months, every month, with genuine commitment. Everett gazed at her. She blinked, questioning if you truly wanted to run them. You observed more about me in just 2 days than most managers do in an entire month. That exemplifies true leadership. Jamie gave a slow, deliberate nod. Very well, I shall proceed with it. However, I also wish to mentor another individual. Eliminate any singular pressure points. Clever, Everett remarked while jotting down a note. We'll arrange it accordingly. Lewis folded his arms across his chest. Are you coming back after this? Or is today your farewell tour? Everett cast his gaze upon all 3 of them. I will be present every Friday in person without any call-ins. Are there no filters? Janie offered a brief nod. Let's ensure this comes together successfully. As they exited the room, Everett lingered for a moment longer. The warehouse echoed with a new resonance. Still noisy, currently occupied, yet the sharpness had faded. Individuals were engaged in their tasks, not preparing for impact. He strolled back toward the floor, weaving through the racks, heading to the north end, where a makeshift workstation lay forgotten. He drew a chair closer, flipped open his notebook, and started to outline a fresh set of guidelines for all the warehouses in the area. They were not rules, those were commitments. This time he would ensure they were safeguarded. The next Monday, Warehouse 11 had an altered appearance and atmosphere, yet it wasn't due to any sudden change overnight. The atmosphere hung heavy with the aroma of cardboard and diesel. The forklift continued its laborious journey through the aisles, and the early morning shift commenced with tired eyes and hushed clock-ins. Yet a profound change had occurred. Individuals were acutely aware of the gaze upon them. Janie positioned herself at the forefront of the room, a small whiteboard resting on a packing table beside her, with a dry erase marker gripped in one hand and a stack of task sheets balanced. In the other, she prepared to tackle the day's challenges. Very well, she remarked, casting her gaze over the assembly before her. Let's begin by analyzing the new rotation. Training blocks are arranged in a way that ensures everyone is included without disrupting the flow. Lewis propped himself against a nearby crate, arms crossed as he absorbed the assignments. His name appeared alongside the inventory flow checks. Jamie lingered just behind him, clutching a clipboard that prominently displayed a laminated badge, identifying her as the safety coordinator. There was no sense of urgency. There was a profound silence, and no one was glancing back, anticipating an imminent attack. Everett observed from the second-floor window that provided a view of the floor below. His arms crossed thoughtfully. He remained silent. He sat back, keenly watching and jotting down his thoughts. A sudden knock at the door behind him captured his focus. Kyle entered, clutching a folder. He appeared more relaxed than earlier, maintaining a serious demeanor but lacking the previous tension. The reassignments have been finalized by HR, he stated. Everything has been approved. Documentation is clear. Everett gave a single nod. Excellent. What is the status of the review reports? Kyle carefully opened the folder. A comprehensive examination of Ron's records was conducted. There have been 17 distinct complaints lodged against him in the last 2 years. No issues were escalated. Everett cast a fleeting look in his direction. And the individuals responsible for addressing those grievances. 2 of them are no longer part of our team. 1 continues to do so. She has arrived at Warehouse 6 now. I have already brought it to the attention of HR leadership. Follow through. Everett instructed. Take action now. I won't, Kyle stated. I have begun crafting the peer feedback system you requested. Maintain confidentiality and encourage participation. People are unlikely to express their true thoughts if they believe it will affect their assessment. Kyle gave a slight nod. Got it. He paused for a moment, then continued. I wasn't certain what you were seeking when you arrived here. I initially believed it was just a formality. Yet you lingered far beyond what anyone anticipated. Everett remarked that he wasn't here to make a point. I arrived to mend what I allowed to shatter. Kyle remained silent in response to that. He offered a brief nod before exiting the room, heading downstairs. The training sessions were underway. Jamie faced a small group of 4 employees by the loading dock, guiding them through the updated hazard protocols. Her words didn't carry the weight of someone seeking admiration. Her words carried the weight of experience, echoing the lessons learned from the silence that followed when voices went unheard. Lewis conducted a live demonstration illustrating the process of documenting discrepancies between scanned and physical inventory. He strolled at a leisurely pace, articulating every movement, allowing others to keep pace. He spoke without interruption. Everyone took their time. As Jamie packed, she moved with purpose, noting the obstacles she observed and discreetly pulling two individuals aside to inquire about what hindered their progress. There's no need for blame, to comprehend. By early afternoon, the pace of the floor had noticeably slowed. Orders were delayed, yet everything remained intact. Everyone was walking normally. No voices were elevated. The pressure existed, yet it was not harmful. At 2:30, Everett paced the floor once more. This time he went unnoticed. He had lost all his intrigue, eyes connected with others. A few heads bobbed in agreement. A man from the stretch wrap area offered him a quick wave. He paused at the primary loading area, where Thomas was positioned at a high desk close to the dock door, examining printouts with a magnifying glass and a pencil in hand. His hands remained unwavering. His posture was more upright than it had previously been. "Are you adjusting okay?" Everett inquired. Thomas lifted his gaze. "I exist. It took me a moment to adapt to remaining in one place for such an extended period." Everett offered a subtle smile. Thomas chuckled. "That's a fortunate dilemma to face. You have a point." Everett softened his tone. "Thank you for your perseverance in what you faced. I failed to notice it in time." Thomas shook his head in disbelief. "What matters is the present moment. You restored people's sense of dignity." That lingered with Everett longer than he anticipated. Outside the break room, Everett spotted Janie poring over a newly updated shift chart. It was meticulously organized, each label carefully crafted, displayed prominently on a corkboard she had retrieved from storage. Everett expressed a desire for your thoughts on a particular matter. She pivoted. "Hello there. I'm establishing a regional audit team with representatives from each warehouse, conducting monthly reviews on a rotating basis led by the staff." No corporate interference. Janie arched an eyebrow. She contemplated the idea of genuine oversight from individuals who have experienced the work firsthand, rather than merely those who have written about it. Expect some resistance. Certain managers are likely to dislike that. Then they will need to adapt, or we will seek out those who are capable. She lightly tapped the corner of the chart. "Are you asking me to be the representative from this location?" "Indeed, but it's not limited to this structure alone. I would like your assistance in designing the entire system." Janie hesitated before responding. Then she declared, "I'll do it, but I want Lewis included in the first rotation as well. He perceives details that often elude others." Completed, she indicated a name on the board. "Additionally, we should monitor Clara during the intake process. She's insightful, yet she's reaching her limits. I will be reorganizing her schedule for the upcoming week. Share the plan with me once it's ready." Janie hastily jotted down a note on a sticky pad, then asked, "You're not planning to just show up again next month, are you?" "No, I have a small office under construction in the corner of the mezzanine. I will be present every Friday. Not as a superior, but as an equal," she nodded. "Let's continue to create and develop." As the week drew to a close, the warehouse remained behind on volume, yet the atmosphere was far from chaotic. The equipment was undergoing inspection. Concerns have been documented. Despite the slower pace, errors decreased. For the first time in ages, individuals lingered after their shifts, not out of obligation, but engaged in conversation, strategizing, and working together on a Friday afternoon. Everett lingered near the exit hallway, watching as the final shift clocked out. He remained silent, merely nodding as others walked by. Several uttered his name. A handful simply offered a subtle thumbs up. Janie was the last to pass him, balancing a folder in one hand and a half-finished coffee in the other. "Are you going to be here late?" she inquired. "I have some notes to complete. However, I will secure everything." She took a moment before responding, saying, if you had barged in here giving commands, none of this would have succeeded." Everett gazed at her. "I didn't arrive here to raise my voice. I arrived to hear." She gave a brief nod, then stepped through the door, vanishing into the gathering twilight beyond. Everett redirected his gaze to the ground. The lights began to fade. Forklifts were stationed at the dock. The atmosphere was serene, yet it brimmed with presence, full of life and substance. He strolled deliberately to the back office, settled into the modest desk, and opened a fresh page in his notebook. At the top he penned, "Leadership isn't about control. It revolves around being there." He emphasized it with two underlines.